there it is, P0744 AT automatic transmission, torque converter, clutch, solenoid, valve function, DTC severity 203. This fault may pose damage to components and should be repaired as soon as possible. Okay guys, major development. At least it's a major development for me. Now, bingo, there is the secondary filter, or the primary, however you want to describe it. Now the part number calls it a filter. It says transmission filter, right? But clearly this is exterior. So this is on the driver's side. I didn't have to. I didn't even have to turn the wheel. No, I have the truck raised up. I used the jack and jacked it up a bit. So just for a little bit more clearance. So I see there 3 bolts. They look like 13 mils or 14 mils. And as you can see, those 2 hoses right there. So the goal for tonight or this evening is to remove it. I did not order the part. So my first goal is to remove the hoses, of course, and I'm going to use some brake clean and spray it inside of it and see if I can somehow examine the contents of whatever comes out, right? My most current theory is this: because I've been doing all these flushes and I have cleaned the filter that's in the housing, but I have not cleaned or replaced this exterior filter, my theory is this filter right here is one of the main culprits for the repeated problems that are coming up, because this right here, my theory is, has been on the vehicle in excess of 172,000 miles. It's ram-packed and gunked up with God knows what, and because it hasn't been changed, it's still sending some of that debris back to the filter that's in the housing. So my theory is, if I change this if I change this filter, if I clean it, which I'm going to clean it temporarily, I'm just going to clean it now because I don't have the new part and I need to drive the vehicle, not just for testing purposes, but it's somewhat, I've become somewhat of a daily driver almost. But let me clean this and see what comes out, right? So this will be a learning moment for all of us. So I'm very excited. I feel like this is some significant good news, and to access it, it's very easy actually. Here is the little plastic trim. You literally just use a flathead screwdriver and remove these clips, and just like that you have access to that entire area. So it's very accessible. And I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to proceed to remove it, and wish me luck. Okay, there's a much better view. I took the wheel off. See? Took the wheel off, so that's another angle. So very accessible, guys. No excuse. Really no excuse not to do this as routine maintenance. Alright? No excuse. I saw on a blog where presumably some guys were talking, and a lot of people were saying like, hey, don't touch the interior filter. Only change this one periodically, according to the repair or maintenance schedule. So it's very, like all filters, it's obviously very important to change these filters, right? So, all right, here it goes. I'm gonna remove it. Okay, so it's actually a 12 millimeter, guys. So I already removed one. That's 2. And that's the last one right here. Respect to real YouTubers. I don't have proper tripod setup, so see? It's as simple as this. Like, look at that. Jeez. Alright, so I'm gonna proceed to remove these clamps, which let me hope I have a tool that can successfully take it off without damaging anything. Okay, got the clamps off. It was a bit finicky, but I did it. They're not super hard on there, you know, so there it is. I got them off, so wish me luck. Hopefully these hoses don't corrode or break on me or anything. I mean, it looks surprisingly very clean under here, I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's the most amount of rust, really. I mean, for a 2009 vehicle, I mean, I think it was garage kept, so maybe that has something to do with it. But okay, let me try and remove those hoses now. Obviously I have a pan there to catch fluid, and let's see what happens. There it is, guys. Very easy. It's dripping. See? And there it is. All right. Here she is. Now I'm gonna bring her inside, and like I said, I'm gonna use some brake clean and pour it inside and see if by some chance I can actually get to, you know, see what's inside. So I'm gonna leave this to drain. You know, not much is draining from the top one there. Actually, not a lot actually was draining out in general, but here she is. I don't know what I was thinking. So I have the brake clean right here, and I'm putting this on some white paper towel. So here we go. There's some cheap brake clean I got at Walmart. So here we go. Okay. Maybe I'll pour some in the other end as well. Guys, I don't know what I'm doing. This is just me. This is my scientific approach to this. Again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just some guy with a Murano messing around because I don't have the funds like that to give it to professionals. So, congratulations to me. I'm a shade tree mechanic, according to the YouTube world, or the mechanic world. Okay. All right, let me see if shaking it around a bit. Well, I poured out some, and I definitely saw some undesirable things. On camera it looks brown. For me it looks more, you know, still somewhat brown, but I do see some little super tiny fragments. But I filled it up, so I'm gonna pour it out again. Let's see what comes out. See. Yeah, that's disgusting. That's definitely disgusting stuff. See how darker it's getting? Yeah, that's all disgusting stuff in there. Oh yeah. Yep. That's gross. Yeah, for those who have never seen the filter before, in my previous video, my very first video, there it is. The reason why the spout looks like that is because I literally use some pliers to cut it, because the replacement one I ordered off Amazon or eBay, I think, it was too long, so I had to cut it, and I just used what I had at the time. But I did my best to match the exact height of the stock one. I'm assuming it was the stock one, and it is what it is. That's what it looks like. So, you know, hey, judge me if you want. Hey, I've gotten over 1,000 miles on this thing, so, but that's what it looks like. These are all 10 millimeter bolts, and it's also 10 millimeter bolts to remove the entire housing as well. So I'm gonna remove this real quick, and then you can see what is inside. And already, even without taking it off, you can see clearly there's some stuff there. And I'm gonna show you what the magnets caught in the pan. Like, it's disgusting. But what I forgot to mention to you guys is, since the last flush, I've put on about 400, I want to say very close to 500 miles actually. I'll do my best to do the actual calculation and tell you, but I'm pretty sure it's close to about 480, 490 miles in total, which to me seems to prove some level of improvement, because in the first 2 or 3 flushes, the most I was able to get was about 280, 290 miles. But anyways, let's move on. All right, so here are the magnets inside the housing oil pan for the CVT transmission. Now I'm gonna wipe these magnets. Look at that. That cannot be good at all. So this is the result of 400 miles. Now it's silver. Again, you can't really tell on camera, I guess because of the light, but silver means metal, I'm guessing. So either way, that's not good, right? And obviously it can't be good if it's being sucked up back into the system. Here's the filter, and you can't tell from this angle, but it has tons of possibly metal, tiny metal shavings, debris, whatever. And you can actually see some fragments there. I'm gonna use my finger, and there it is. Again, it's silver, so could be metal, feels like metal. Yep. Anyways, not the first time seeing this, but correction, maybe it is the first time I'm seeing this much actually. But then again, this is the first time I've driven it for so long. I mean, like I said, 400, close to 500 miles since the last flush. And there's inside the filter. So yeah, I'm gonna use Burr Clean and clean this up. I'm gonna do it off camera real quick. It's 40 degrees, so it's kind of chilly. I need to get back driving and test drive, aka go do errands. All cleaned up. Just gonna reinstall, pour in fluids, the same fluid. Maybe a dumb idea, but it is what it is, and go drive. Completed the flush and the filter cleaning at the gas station now. Got some gas, pretty much a quarter tank. 173,011 miles. And let's see what happens. I cleared the code for the service engine soon light. We'll see what happens. From experience, it tends to come back anywhere between 20 to 50 miles. Will it come back? Only time will tell. I checked the fluid level. I knew for sure I lost some fluid because when I was removing the filter, in the one that's inside the housing, there was a massive spill. I forgot for a second that it tends to, you know, lose a significant amount from that filter as well. Plus, there were some minor spillages here and there. So I want to say I need at least a quart or maybe a little less than a quart. So I can't even judge the test drive properly until the fluid level is where it should be. But I drove to the gas station. It made it. She made it. I'm gonna drive. There's a parts store. It's very late. That's open 24 hours. I'm gonna see if they're open, call them, and if they're open, get a quart. It's usually like about 10-11 bucks. Top it up and see what happens from there. Well guys, I started driving and already I notice a red flag. There's some vibration and slipping. I don't know. Could that be due to the low fluid? When I checked it on the dipstick, it's literally just a tiny amount actually touched the dipstick. So it is low on fluid. And unfortunately, I'm at least around 7 to 10 miles away from the parts store. And I mean, I have to get to one. So I'm going to see if I can just drive her somewhat moderately and just make it there. I mean, it's the only way to do a proper test. I don't know if it's the low fluids that's causing the problem, but clearly it will be dumb of me to try and rev it up really high right now with the fluids being low. So it's raining a bit. I need a wiper blade, at least for the driver's side. Wish me luck. Hope I get to the parts store. I'm gonna do a time lapse. Leaving the parts store, I got lucky. They had a couple quarts. I just added a quart. I'm pretty sure that should do it, but it's raining and look at me. I got a wiper blade for the driver's side. It's pretty cheap. Interestingly enough, like $7.50 including tax. So it was like one of those cheap in-house brands, I guess. So I topped up the fluid. Let's call this the test drive. Is she moving normal? I can't really say it. And I'm being extra careful because the roads are slippery and don't want to take any chances with, as you can see, it's a busy road, cars on both sides. So just double check the fluid level. It seems to be perfect right in the crosshatch area. So I feel a little bit more responsible and confident to give her some revs and see what happens. So here we go. Okay, that don't sound good. Don't know if you guys heard that. This weird vibration that's been happening somewhat frequently the last 50 to 100 miles. Let's see if it happens again. Unfortunately, these roads aren't smooth. She feels a little bit more responsive than before. Again, when I drove out on the dipstick, there was barely anything on it, and the response was very, very weak. But I was also driving very careful. I kept the RPMs very low. I wasn't going more than 35 miles per hour, just to be safe. Okay, let me see if I can step into it right here. Okay, unfortunately not really a good spot to test, unfortunately. I'm gonna wait until I get some smooth roads.
After the beep, please say a command or...
She seems great so far, guys. Okay, let me take that back. Not great. She seems normal. Let's put it that way. Put it this way. If I gave this car to a stranger and I told them, hey, go drive it and tell me how it feels, for the most part, I don't think a single person would tell me they noticed something strange about the transmission and how it shifts or anything like that. I mean, there's no jerky between the gear changes. There's no popping. There's no the vibrations that I mentioned earlier. They don't seem to be around right now. I remember in the past when I did flushes, there was sometimes a 5-10 minute period where it would act a little funny sometimes, and then after that it would be perfect. So I'm just guessing maybe it takes time for the fluid to circulate properly and all of that stuff, and obviously old fluid is mixing with newer fluid and all of that stuff. So, you know, between fluid heating up and all of that stuff, so I guess, what's the term, it needs time to get up to operating temperatures, I guess, before drawing any kind of conclusions, I guess. But strolling through the town. "37 miles later, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is it's 37 miles later and we're driving, she's moving. I'm grateful. But the bad news is there's an obvious delay sometimes. I want to say 50% at a time, where you give her gas to moving off a stoplight or a stop sign, and sometimes there's like a 1.5 seconds or a 2-second delay where she'll be moving, but it's somewhat slow, almost as if it's like she's in a limp mode for like a second, sometimes 2 seconds. And God forbid, if I'm going up any kind of incline, that delay could be a bit longer. So I'm gonna try to reproduce it at this light coming up right here. So 20 miles per hour, I'm gonna give it some guess. So she moves, right? But again, sometimes there is that 0.5 second to a second delay. So something is going on. So here I'm at a stop sign, see, at 0. I'm gonna somewhat floor it. So it wasn't that obvious. To you guys, it might seem as if it responded quickly, but it was responding much quicker days ago. Now, the elephant in the room is that I did reuse that highly contaminated fluid, which had at least close to 500 miles on it, right? So would the performance have been better if I had drained the 5 quarts and topped it back up with fresh 5 quarts? I'm tempted to believe the answer would be a yes. But being stubborn, not wanting to spend unnecessarily right now if I don't have to, I left it alone deliberately. Wow. Okay. 76 miles later, she's still going. While she's moving, feels smooth, picks up decent enough, not great, not spectacular, just good. See, it doesn't take much to get to 60. On the highway, so the roads are smooth for the most part. Now there's still that delay that I spoke about. It's like a sometimes 1 second, sometimes a half a second delay, but it is noticeable, and I did not notice that before. But like I said, part of the variable is that this time around I reused old fluid, so that's a compromising factor. My theory is that had I used brand new fluid, she would have been performing much better. So as soon as possible, I'll do a flush, and most importantly, try to get a new filter, the exterior one, that's essentially right, you could almost call it right beside the driver wheel. It's towards the front actually, because you can almost see it if you're looking at from the front, like where the bumper is. You're pretty much looking at it right there, and all you have to do is remove that plastic cover in the wheel arch area, and you get not only a clear view of it, but easy access to remove the bolts. Pretty sure I'll upload a video talking about that removal process and so forth. Pretty simple. Three bolts, 12 millimeters. She going, guys. The service engine light came back on approximately around 25 miles, so it came back on quicker than other times, but it is what it is. It's moving, so I don't care. Am I making things worse? Are metal parts of the transmission shredding to pieces? I don't know. Either way, I'm moving, and I'm quite happy with that. "113 miles later, it's the daytime. She's still going, but there is undoubtedly a delay in just overall acceleration. And there are times when I was on the highway earlier. Sorry I wasn't able to catch it on video, but I was on the highway doing like about 50, and when I was trying to accelerate to 60, 65, it struggled. It's almost as if it was slipping for a minute, you know, before it actually got there. And then when it got there, well, it's kind of obvious it was like struggling to get there. So the next thing to do is I am gonna proceed with the same fluid in the trans. I'm not gonna change anything. I'm gonna see essentially how far I can go as it is within reason. I'm gonna do my best to order the filter as quickly as possible, and once I get that, I'll install that, probably clean the other filter again, and then fill up with 5 quarts of brand new fluid. And that's the name of the game, guys.